There's not really anywhere to sit, so this looks like a pretty good spot. I feel like I'm in elementary school, but oh, okay. I guess this is what I have to do. So has homelessness been getting better in Hawaii? That's something that I've recently asked myself, and I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure if our strategy is effective, and maybe there's other things that we can do. And so that's what I want to talk about in this video. I know that it's a very sensitive topic, but whether you're having to walk off the sidewalk to avoid the tents, or you just don't go to certain places, we've all been impacted by homelessness. Whether you currently live here or have visited, it's pretty hard to ignore. And when we talk about homelessness, it's often this huge, multifaceted, complex issue that requires a comprehensive or holistic strategy or solution to solve. In Hawaii specifically, we often hear the narrative of we need more affordable housing and we need to find ways to lower the cost of living, with those two being the primary reasons why people end up homeless. And while I do think that those are contributing factors, oftentimes we don't talk about what seems to me the biggest cause, or at least one of the root causes of homelessness that I personally see, which is substance abuse. And so I want to talk about what I see today, just as someone who is living in Hawaii, someone who grew up here and is currently raising my family. Because when it comes to the issue of substance abuse and homelessness, it seems like we don't talk about it, or we don't like to talk about it. And I'm not quite sure why. Because maybe we're scared to talk about it, or we're very uncomfortable to talk about it. But I'm pretty sure that people talk about it amongst friends and family, and maybe they throw a little snide remark here or there. But snide remarks aside, let's talk about it. First, I want to mention that what I'm talking about is purely observational. I know that there's the 2023 Oahu point in time count, which they go out and do a voluntary survey of the homeless population here, but I don't really put much into that just because it's a voluntary survey, and I don't really think you can use that as a measuring tool for whether the homeless situation has gone up or down. In fact, I wish they would just ask people, how do you feel about homelessness? Do you feel like the situation has gotten a lot better? Because trust me, Hawaii people, they're just gonna tell you. Second, I know that homelessness is, again, a very sensitive topic to discuss. I mean, we're talking about people. Because whether you're living in a mansion in Kahala or you're living on the streets in Chinatown, you're still a person. And a person should be treated with dignity and respect. So when it comes to the homelessness issue here in Hawaii, I think it's more of a substance abuse issue. Of course, related to that is mental health issues, but really we're talking about substance abuse issues. I don't know why we don't put more emphasis on that in our discussion, in that narrative on homelessness here. A lot of the attention goes towards affordable housing and cost of living, but not necessarily substance abuse. And I think that we should acknowledge that a little bit more, because when you see more so on the street, again, just from pure observation, that seems to be a major factor. Now, I do recognize that there are homeless individuals out there who are trying, who, because of cost of living, because of certain circumstances, they find themselves on the streets, and that they're doing the best that they can to make it work. And then of course you have communities like the one out in Waianae, who as a community, they've figured out what system works best for them. But I think the homeless individuals that most people are concerned with, and maybe disproportionately have an impact on the general public at large, are the ones who suffer from substance abuse addiction. And these are the people that we're scared to see, that when we see them, we're genuinely afraid. These are the ones that are passed out on the sidewalk or screaming at the top of their lungs across the street. And many of us don't interact or have to deal with these individuals on a daily basis, just whenever we happen to be out. But I know that there are a lot of people like security guards or store clerks whose job is to deal with a lot of these people every single day. And so these are the individuals that I think need the most help. These individuals who are homeless and are struggling with substance abuse addiction. And I don't think that affordable housing or lowering the cost of living is going to have that much of an impact on their lives. Again, I'm just speaking as someone who lives in Honolulu. There are just certain places that you don't go. You just don't go there. And it's sad, really, because they're nice places. When I was growing up, We used to be able to go to Stadium Park after school and we'd hang out, and it was pretty decent. It was a nice park. We could go there. But now I probably wouldn't go there. And it just takes one drive-by or one experience and you're like, okay, this is pretty sketchy. Let's get out of here. And let me just say, as a dad of 2 young kids, that's pretty hard because I want to take them to parks. I want to go out and have fun. I want them to burn off all their energy. But when we don't feel safe, when it doesn't feel like the park is accessible, that's hard. And in fact, it seems like that space is now wasted. Not that it's wasted space, but that the park isn't being utilized to its fullest potential. The thing is, when we visited Japan, there were homeless there as well. We saw them sort of under the overpasses or even in some of the train stations, but they kept to themselves. They had little cardboard boxes and signs, and that was it. They didn't bother us and they were just quiet. But in Hawaii, it's very different. And I think the biggest factor that contributes to that stark difference is the substance abuse addiction. And so I kind of wonder about the solutions of more affordable housing to solve homelessness, or let's find ways to lower the cost of living to solve homelessness. Because those seem like pretty big problems that not just homeless individuals struggle with. I mean, regular everyday people are struggling to find affordable housing. And regular everyday people are struggling to keep up with the cost of living. And these issues just seem to be so huge that if we were to actually solve them, we wouldn't just benefit homeless individuals, we'd be benefiting everyone here. More housing for everyone that's affordable, that people can actually buy. For lowering the cost of living, we're talking about big economic changes. You're talking about making things cheaper in the store, or I should say, increasing salaries. And those are things that are really out of, I think, people's control. And so sometimes I think we keep highlighting and chasing after that wonderful solution for homelessness in Hawaii with these huge ideas and these huge aspirations, and because they're so huge, it just, are we ever going to attain them? And again, I appreciate the efforts for trying to provide more housing and trying to lower the cost of living, and I completely understand the idea or the strategy of trying to find permanent housing for homeless individuals so that once they have a stable home, then you can introduce more services to them. But again, I wonder how fast and how effective is that going to be at large? Because to me, I think addressing that substance abuse issue, or at least highlighting it or talking about it more, maybe we can get some of these people the help that they need. I think it would have a beneficial impact on any homeless related crimes, and more importantly, I think it would make people feel like things are getting done, that places that they used to avoid are now open and they can go and enjoy them. And it's more than just the homelessness count. I mean, that's fine to look at a number, but I think to really gauge how well an entity or a state is doing with homelessness, you really ought to go out there and ask people, how do they feel? I mean, has homelessness gotten better in Hawaii? You really gotta think about it and ask yourself. And if your quick instinct is not really, it's gotten worse, well, then how do we find ways to make that better? How do we change that public perception? And I think that you can by getting these people some help. If we were to provide affordable housing for homeless individuals and somehow lower the cost of living, is that going to help that guy who's passed out on the sidewalk? Is that going to help that guy who's screaming and yelling on the corner? I'm not so sure. A few years ago, I saw this documentary about the city of Seattle and kind of their struggles with homelessness. And what I took away from that was the emphasis on substance abuse treatment facilities and how that could really be a way to help the situation, not just for the general public, but also for the specific individuals who are going through homelessness. And maybe something like that could work in Hawaii. Maybe we need to have more discussions about introducing ideas like that. I'm not sure, but at least take a look at that and see, well, if we tried this solution for a long time and things haven't gotten better, again, based on public perception and not just a voluntary count, well, maybe we can try something new. And I think sometimes, well, if housing is provided for homeless individuals, what about regular people who work and who aren't homeless? What about housing for them, for us? And that's not to say that homeless people don't need homes too, they do. But I think when a lot of emphasis is put on, well, we need specific housing just for homeless individuals, well, what about people who are not homeless? And I think you get a lot of what about me questions. And then the problem becomes so huge that you can't do anything. Because I think about someone like my brother who can't afford to buy a house or a home here in Hawaii. Should he just declare that he's homeless so he can now get special access to homeless housing? And what kind of incentives would be provided once he were to get that homeless housing to get out of that homeless housing? Because I think the jump from being homeless to being able to afford a decent place and get a nice job, it's a pretty big gap to jump from like 0 to 60, let's say. So this is just some thoughts that I was thinking about when it comes to homeless in Hawaii. I mean, it's kind of sad. Even filming this video was hard because originally I wanted to film over there, but I couldn't. And I wanted to film over there, but I couldn't. And so I just picked this tree because there's nobody around here. And I think that we can keep trying to solve homelessness by talking about or even building affordable housing for homeless individuals. And we can talk about cost of living and trying to find ways to lower the cost of living so that more people don't enter homelessness. We can keep doing those things, but I wish that there was just some talk on substance abuse treatment, on how we can get people help. Because I think to talk about housing and cost of living is very noble. And I think on the surface, it seems like the quick and easy Band-Aid. It seems to make sense. But I think when you walk around places like Honolulu or other places in Hawaii, that doesn't seem to be the solution. That's the solution for a totally different problem, but maybe not for these individuals. And again, I'm talking about the homeless individuals who we're often going to see and encounter on the street. Because it almost seems like an attempt to solve an unsolvable problem, as if that will somehow fix everything. And if we were to actually figure out solutions for housing and cost of living, again, it would benefit everyone. But in the meantime, maybe figure out what the root cause of the problem is for some of these people. Maybe we can address it directly. Maybe we'll see quicker results, and more importantly, long-term results. And after decades of trying to solve homelessness in Hawaii, and I mean going back from statehood, trying to solve it, maybe we can try something different. Maybe we can have a different discussion or bring different people to the table to figure out new strategies and ways that maybe will work. So thanks for watching, and aloha.